Folsom Ford, Baxley, GA, where you always get a Woody deal. And now, to sweeten that deal, all the best-selling 19 F-150s are hitting the road at 0% for 84 months. Edge, Escape, Mustangs, and EcoSports as well. What's that? Got your eye on a 2020 F-150? Finance with Ford Motor Credit and get 0% for 72 months and no payment for 90 days. Better get to Baxley, where we make it easy.
Call, click, or come see us on 341 West, home of the free lifetime powertrain warranty. Hey, we'll deliver right to your door. God bless you big time. We appreciate you.
Sales, service, selection, and financing. Woody Folsom Ford makes it easy.
Zero in on 0% this month at Woody Folsom Ford. Better get to Baxley and let us sweeten the deal. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
God bless you big time. We appreciate you.
Celebrating 50 years as the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
WIFO-FM, Jessup.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump at a Ford plant in Michigan had been asked to wear a mask per state order. He did not in front of the cameras.
I had one on before. I wore one in this back area, but I didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing it.
The president did wear a mask during a private tour, then took it off for the rest of the visit. That plant's currently making personal protective equipment. The University of California system is dropping the SAT and ACT standardized tests as an admissions requirement by 2024.
The decision could be influential as other colleges nationwide consider similar choices. The entrance exams have been criticized for years as being biased against minority and economically disadvantaged students. With California high school campuses closed because of the coronavirus pandemic, UC had already made the test optional for students who want to attend the fall 2021 sessions.
Fox's Tom Rigotti. America's listening to Fox News.
At long last, NASCAR has finally returned. And now, the countdown to the Coca-Cola 600 has begun. Drivers, start your engine! The Coca-Cola 600, live from Charlotte, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
This is the moment when America comes together.
And Fox News Channel is with you every step of the way.
There are so many uplifting stories, people helping each other.
America's best shine brightest when needed the most.
The spirit of generosity has been enormous.
We took an oath to be here for the public, so we're not going anywhere.
We are resilient. Thanks to her citizens, the America we know will come out of this stronger than ever before.
America Together, on air and online. Only Fox News.
Since 1946, Murphy's Builder Supply has been serving the folks of Jessup, Wayne, and surrounding counties with quality products and knowledgeable service. Matter of fact, they feel they sell service first to make sure you get exactly what you need for your home improvement projects. And with each employee at Murphy's being there for 10 years or more, you know you're talking with someone with the experience to help you with building supplies, tools, paint, and all the things you need from a full-service hardware store. The best choice in home improvement is Murphy's Builder Supply, 156 Northeast Broad Street, Jessup.
8 o'clock on this Friday morning here at the Big Dog, WIFO-FM, world-famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by Murphy Builder Supply. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Jonathan. Again, we've got John Carter in the studios, candidate for sheriff, but Luther Harris needed 5 minutes to talk about Memorial Day weekend, so we'll let him get in there.
But before I talk about that, I'd like to say from our network officers and agencies, thank you to all those that have fought that we are free. Sheriff sitting here beside of me, I know he's a veteran, but we want to say thank you to those folks, their families, for their losses, and y'all just remember those that are out there. What I wanted to talk to everybody is we're kicking off Memorial Day, kicks off 100 Days of Summer Heat, and that's a 5-state campaign. We're dealing with speed, seatbelts, cell phones, and alcohol is the main things there. So just be aware it's not just Georgia, but you're going to be looking at Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, and Tennessee. It's across the nation, but ours is called 100 Days of Summer Heat. So just remind folks to slow down, buckle up, put the cell phones down, and drive sober. And please remember, before you lock your car, to look at the back seat and see if you got a child back there.
I believe it's going to be a busy weekend. I think people are just ready to get out and do something Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah. Speed is one of the biggest things. Sheriff and I were just talking about it out there in the lobby. Alpharetta got one the other day at 133. That's Alpharetta Police Department. And Smyrna got one at 124. And one of my network officers was telling me that they'd gotten one on the interstate down there at 104. There's no reason for that. Mm-hmm. So just please slow down, if you will.
Slow down and buckle up. Yeah,
that's right. And thank you for squeezing me in.
Okay. Now we turn our attention to the guest that we invited in for. Again, we've been talking to the candidates for sheriff. Last Friday we had Chuck Mosley. Friday before that, Paul Dry. Today is incumbent John Carter. John, early voting has been underway all this week. Over 100 people just about every day. So I think the interest is definitely there, and I think the sheriff's race is, bringing the crowd to the racetrack office every day. There's a lot of interest in there. There's a lot of people in the race. 4 on the Republican side, 1 on the Democratic side. At the forum at the chamber a week ago Thursday, I was able to attend that. But just wanted to get your thoughts on how the campaign's been going for you so far.
Well, before we do that, I say thank you to you and Jonathan for having me out here. But also this time of the year, I say on behalf of Marcia and myself and the men and women of Wayne County Sheriff's Office, we say congratulations to our 2020 graduating class. As I said in my post on Facebook, they faced more missed events and lifestyle changes than anybody in the history that I know of. Anyway, we wish them well, whether they're going to college, whether they're going to technical school, whether they're going to the workforce, or whether they're going to the military. We wish them the best. Have a great summer and a safe summer. Secondly, I'll piggyback off what Luther said. It is a Memorial Day weekend. It's not just a 4-day weekend. It's a day when we honor our dead. We pay tribute to my brothers and sisters that gave their all to defend our flag and our freedoms. So I say, our prayers are with them. All right, now we get started on what you said.
I just want to, first of all, how's the campaign going so far for you?
I think it's going good. I get calls and texts daily of, I voted for you, or my family, we did this, and some I don't even recognize the number. So it's I feel like it's going good. It's tough to get out there as the incumbent sheriff because maybe contrary to popular belief, the sheriff's job is not 9 to 5. It does not end on Friday at 5 o'clock. It's, you got weekend events you must attend. I choose to do most of it because I like to be involved in our community and have been before I ever became sheriff with different civic clubs like Jessup JC's, Jessup Elks Lodge, and then the list goes on. But, kids are important to me, and that's why I served as the president of the youth homes with the Georgia Sheriff Association. I'm now past president. So I still put that. Speaking of that, I got to plug our golf tournament. We've had to, we normally do it in April, but we moved it to September 26th. So we'll be putting that together, and that's what we raise money to support all our 5 campuses of youth homes in the state of Georgia.
And just joining us, John Carter, the incumbent sheriff, in the studios with us, talking about the campaign. Again, as we mentioned, they had the forum at the chamber a week ago. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
I thought it went well. I mean, it was good and cordial. I wish all the candidates could have been there, but it was just all but one was there. So we did a good job. But it's good to get that out there and know the people know some of the answers or some of your philosophies and beliefs and that sort of thing. One of the things that came up, as you well know, was overtime, and obviously overtime is an issue, but I said, and I have to correct this. I was wrong. I said that we were 8 short last year. I went back and looked. We were 9 short last year. I sent 6 through the academy, and I hired 3 from other agencies. And this is during the entire year. It might have been 4 or 5 at one time. It might have been 4, depending on where we were when somebody left us or who I had to send through the academy. The other thing with overtime, you've got sick, you've got annual leave, you got we've had last year especially, we had some major medical issues where we had a major surgeries. One of those actually had to go out on medical. We had a pregnancy, and you got to remember, sheriff's office is not just law enforcement. We've got courts, we got jail, we got 911, so we got a lot of other duties to attend to, and that's the total. All the overtime was we were authorized $405,000. I think we went over by 75. I think spent $480,000 in overtime. But there's, if you look, and the other things that cause it, the weather events. Just not too long ago, we had the tornado in Odom, Georgia. Mother's Day weekend, we had a missing person we spent all weekend looking for. So those are things that come up that you can't predict. Those are what I call variables. Also, in say 2019, I had 11 different events where I had inmates that had to be hospitalized, which means we got to put 24-hour coverage. We spent 39 days, I think, almost 1,000 hours of overtime, because you can't use your street people. They're way too busy. To put it in perspective, the city has like 6.5 square miles to patrol. I've got 648 square miles, so I've got a lot more territory to do, and our jobs are just different. It's not that one's any better than the other, but I've got three main areas of responsibility. The jail operations, court services and security, and general law enforcement, which entails investigators and everything else. Plus, I've got 911 now, because I took it at the request of the commissioners in 2015.
But you mentioned overtime, several events come up you just can't prepare for. Like I said, you mentioned the storms, like the missing person, that happened a couple weeks ago. Everybody comes out to help with that. I mean, we had the press release. I mean, you got buggies, you got horses, you got the K-9 unit, helicopters. I mean, there's a lot of expense, but it's something that's needed because this person went missing and, he had special needs, and fortunately it ended on a good note. They were able to find him, but those are things that come up that you just don't,
Well, you
don't schedule.
You
right?
don't, but I mean,
it's not a scheduled event, right?
What you just said, the volunteers that come out, this is, that's why this place is we're full of wonderful people here in Wayne County. They came out, like you said, with horses, buggies. They did everything they could. We did everything we could, getting all the law enforcement resources we could find, which was, helicopters and drones, you name it. We had it. But, those are things, the people of Wayne County, just like they did in Odom, they showed up, graciously, even people of Madison County. So, I love to live here for that reason. I mean, the people have always been here, and I've been here my entire career. When I started here, I worked with the sheriff's office only. I didn't retire from another job and come here and want to be sheriff. I actually started here and worked my way up through the thing. Now, I didn't have a dream to be sheriff. I just happened to be in the right position when my sheriff at that time retired, and I felt like it was something that I needed to do.
Yeah. Well, speaking, and listening to your opponents, the main thing I get was that, we, like I said, we went through this last year, or all through before the qualifying got underway. They keep saying that the word was out there that you weren't going to seek another term, and and they're convinced of that. That's why they jumped in this race. But we had you on not once, not twice, but maybe 3 times on the Butch and Bob Show, asking you that question, and you made it clear that you were running. So why do you think that story persists out there?
I have no idea. I had one specifically call me and asked me that he had heard I wasn't going to run, and I said, if I decide not to run, I will let you know. That got turned around a little bit from listening to the radio the other day, but that's actually what I said. I've never told anybody I wasn't running. I don't know who this confidential informant they got that claims that I said that, but from at least last January or maybe before that I said that I was running.
Right. And I said you've been on record all that year saying you were going to run. So how many terms would this be? How long you been? When was the first time you get elected?
At the end of this year will be the end of my 4th term. That'll be 16 years. So I'm seeking a 5th term.
A 5th term as sheriff. What's been the longest serving sheriff? You have any idea the history of Wayne County?
Gail Warren said LB died within the middle of his 4th term, and he was the longest serving. She thought. Sheriff Harron, the one I worked for, in 2012, and I didn't have any opposition. He said as far as he could go back, which was almost 1860, he could not find an unopposed sheriff in Wayne County. So, Gail and them, and before Mr. Stetson died, he, said that, I don't know. I'm not a historian, so I don't go back. But anyway, I'm not after any kind of records. Of course, I could never beat Mr. Cecil or some of the other sheriffs in Georgia anyway.
Well, I maintained from the get-go is, just being here 30-some years, watching sheriff races around this area, it's hard to beat an incumbent sheriff. So, but you had more opposition this time than you've ever had. You had one person run against you on the Republican ballot last year, and then one person on the Democratic, which we'll have again in November. So Kevin Johnson's the only candidate on the Democratic ticket. But, I'm sure, as all candidates, they love no opposition. But to have opposition, you got to get there and campaign. As you mentioned, during this pandemic, it's kind of difficult. We talk to it's not a normal campaign, but now that things are starting to open up, maybe you can get out and see people between now and the June 9th primary date and in November. But again, the crowds at the courthouse seem to be pretty good. Like I said, it seems to be a lot of interest in the sheriff's race this year.
Well, Marcia and I voted early Monday. Actually, it was after dinner, but she was number 59 and I was number 60. So I think by the end of the day, I believe y'all said there was 91 on Monday, but it seems to be a good turnout, and that's what we need. Yeah. I mean, go out and vote your voice, whether it's for me or one of the other candidates. Just vote. I mean,
they're averaging over 100 a day, so that's pretty good. And I said there is one Saturday voting, but it's not this Saturday. It's next Saturday, May 30th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., but all taking place at the registrar's office. I was curious, they have the safety precautions. Jonathan said he went, and they got 13
at 9:30. Yeah.
But they've got the safety precautions and things like that, so it's going. It seems to be going well. They're not limiting. They got it where if there is a crowd, you have to stand outside and wait. So but it's going pretty well.
Yeah, it is, and of course, you can wear a mask. They're wearing masks, but you don't necessarily have to. I did because I felt it was the right thing to do. Both Marcia and I did, but. Obviously, I'm around all our guys all day long, so I don't think a mask is not going to really help us. And we have had one at the jail, one at 911, and one in our office that had relatives that either had it or were suspected to have it. So we had to take the precautions we did. They stayed home and they got the test, and we made sure they were negative before we allowed them to come back. But that's really the only issues we've had with it at that point. Now, answering calls and obviously affecting arrests, you got to make contact with people. So we got the hand sanitizers, gloves, and all the things that we're supposed to have. Court is starting to start back up, and those are some other things that we've had to order masks. Actually, Richard Johnson was able to obtain some from GEMA at no cost. So each person coming in the courtroom is going to have it, and anybody coming beyond that bar, where I'm talking about, toward the judge's bench, is going to have a mask and gloves or whatever I'm looking at the requirements that the judges want, but we're going to start back with court, but we're going to do it in a safe manner.
Besides the overtime issue, I haven't seen a lot of issues. One thing I do hear, and see, they still talk about the breakup of the Joint Task Force. Just want you to go over that history.
I didn't think we had some problems there. I pulled people out. I just didn't get back in it. I thought that we needed to both just dissolve both sides and start over. They wanted to keep some of their same people, and I was not in favor of that. And I also had a different direction I wanted to go in. I've got a three-pronged approach that I've done now. I was able to had been wanting to do it a long time, getting the Southeast Georgia Regional Task Force, which is GBI run. I have an officer assigned to that task force. It's now up to 48 counties. Now, that doesn't mean that my agent's got to work all 48 counties. What that does is give us more resources if we have to have it, and vice versa. Does he have to work in other counties sometimes? He sure does. Like Toombs County had the big trafficking thing that they had up there, and last year he worked some of that. But actually, when I started last year with his training, he actually got through about August where he could actually get out there and work. And by October, we had 10 major dealers that we got. 2 of still, out there we hadn't found them, and they're all, we're looking for them. U.S. Marshal Service trying to find. But we got 8 out of 10. Last week we got 8 or 9. I believe it's 9 we got last week. We got 6 out of 10 yesterday. We still got 4 we're looking for. So we're starting to get to rolling like I want to. I've got some more building to do, but the second prong, that's the first prong. We're targeting trafficking, we're targeting sales, we're trying to get the bigger guys. Matter of fact, we had a last month a fentanyl bus that we did that led into Florida, and I can't discuss that very much more because DEA and Southeast Regional Task Force, that's what you need them for, because we don't have the ability to do those things.
Everybody, I've seen this, I heard this. It's election year, so that's why all these drug arrests are taking place at this time.
let me address that.
That's another accusation.
I have been through 10 elections with the sheriffs I work for and 4 of my own. That is every time you have an election, that's going to come up. You can bet on that. you can take that to the bank because that's going to happen. But then I heard and I did. You were at the forum the other day. Some of the I did just felony arrest from January 1st to April 30th this year by agency. We had 49 total. We did 29 of them. The city did 20. Out of our 29, 5 of them were multiple, charges. Out of their 24 were. So we're both working drugs. I'm not in competition with the city of Jessup. We're both working drugs, and it's both working out. Can I work with them? Of course I can. Do I necessarily want to be a part of a task force with them? I don't think I'm ready for that yet. But, we can work together. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to be in a task force together to work together. And that's the way I want it, because, I've said it many times. I said, I got some of the finest men and women in law enforcement that work with me. You don't hear me say, and they'll tell you that, you don't hear me say a lot that they work for me. They work with me. Because without them, I don't care who the sheriff is, you can't do it. You've got to have good employees.
One of the most interesting conversations at the forum that I heard, that I took from it was the discussion about the drugs, the fight against drugs. It's how it's changed, in years past it used to be, cocaine and things like that. Now it's methamphetamine, mostly in prescription medication. That's a big issue with the prescription med. But they talked about how sometimes it's difficult to run down the prescription medication, but that seems to be a big problem.
Well, opioids is a big problem, and I'm part of as I said the other day, I'm part of a class action suit to try to recover some of our costs in the jail for what we have to do to detox people, what is costing us in the jails, and me and a lot more sheriffs in the state of Georgia. Our attorneys have joined in with the one that's in Ohio that's doing the big case against the pharmaceutical companies. Those are what I'm trying to recover. Our jail costs are expensive. I mean, just like and looking at yesterday, cocaine ain't going away because a lot of those were cocaine, some methamphetamine, but fentanyl's the one that's scaring me right now because it doesn't take like both those busts we got that our information led to Florida, both were 6 grams of fentanyl, and it doesn't take but about the head of a pin will kill you. And they lace it with the heroin or other things. They got counterfeit Percocets, you name it.
But the one success story was shutting down that pill mill that was right down downtown Jessup. I mean, that was a mess for several weeks, almost a month. But fortunately, we were able to shut that down.
But, fortunately, I had worked with DEA in Glenn County on the pill mill down there. Actually, the doctor that came to Glenn County. He worked with another doctor down there.
Yeah.
So as soon as they got there, and I was hoping that they wouldn't give him a business license, but they did, and I don't know that they had a reason they couldn't. But I called DEA the next morning after they made the decision to give him the business license and asked what we had to have, and they told me. So I set up surveillance. I got what we needed. They went in with a search warrant. We ended up taking it down. That's that's just the way it happened, and then we appreciate the help. But I've got a good working relationship with DEA, the FBI, ATF, you name it. Most of the 3-letter agencies, U.S. Marshals especially, we deal with them because we do operations throughout the year. Operation Falcon's one where they got a fugitive task force, and we try to find people they're looking for that's in our county that may have fugitive warrants from other states or other counties. Another big operation we do is October around Halloween. We're in charge of arrest or sex offenders. So what we do in October is called Operation Watchful Eye. We go out and actually probation has them come to the courtroom and set all the ones that are on probation, but we check on the rest of them and try to make sure. But we do it all year long. We're not required to do it about once or twice a year, but we do it monthly, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. As a matter of fact, we've been accused of harassing them, but like I said, hey, if you don't like it, you're welcome to move to another place that doesn't enforce it like we do. But that's part of protecting your community. You don't know the number of child molestations and stuff we have. We've got about 100 and I didn't look at because I didn't have time to look at it this morning, but we're somewhere around 130, 132 on sex offenders now. Granted, about 10 of them are in prison, either federal prison or others, but they're we get to credit them because federal prison's here. But those are things that we do, and I neglected to mention a while ago on the overtime thing is number of transports we make. Just out of town transports last year was 7. We went about 7,000 miles, so we got about 1,200 hours of overtime. So those are the things that we that cost us a lot of money too. But that's one of the duties. I've got basically a sheriff has got 70 things he's mandated to do by the state, and very few of those are funded by the state. So it's got to come out of the county coffer. So that's just it's just a part of the things. But other things that cause overtime, we got special details. If we have, let's say, a rash of entered autos in the county, we're going to saturate that area with usually unmarked vehicles, which is detectives and stuff like that. We'll have patrol work in there too. Our burglaries or drug roundup arrests like we just had, and I just mentioned Operation Falcon and Watchful Eye and many other things like that we do. We've helped the U.S. Marshal Service. They had the escapee out of Miami, capture him at Air 169. But those are things that just special details that you can't predict. I call them variables. You don't know.
If you just joined us, incoming Sheriff John Carter in the studios with us. I'm curious. As you mentioned, you're looking for your 5th term as sheriff. You've been here a long time. I've been here a long time. I mean, I went through my files. I've been here since 1982. Unfortunately, we've had more murders in Wayne County than you care to count. But it goes all the way back to the Joneses murders in '84. But I couldn't find any case of a shooting death in Wayne County where the GBI wasn't called in immediately. The Almont Arbery case is getting national attention, and I'm still perplexed as why the GBI wasn't called in. As a sheriff, I mean, I've told everybody.
Excuse me.
The good, bad, and the ugly. But anyway,
all right, I'll fix that.
Explain, as a sheriff, when there's a shooting in Wayne County, how quickly does it? I mean, I thought the sheriff's department, police department here always called the GBI in because they want hands off and let them come in and handle the situation.
There have been cases that they haven't, but not at the sheriff's office.
I was going to say, I can't.
My philosophy is simply this: I want all the resources I can get. Right. My investigators are as good as they are. Right? I mean, I don't think my investigators are inferior to GBI. The fact is, GBI's got more equipment than I do. They got crime scene technicians. If it's, let's say, it bleeds over into, let's say, Lowndes County, they've got resources to do that I don't have. But the fact is, the name of the game is let's solve the crime. And we'll all get credit. If you're looking for a pat on the back, then in this reason, you're here for a wrong reason. But, you're all going to get praise if you solve the crime. It doesn't matter whether it's who it is, whether it's GBI or us, but we all work together. I mean, and the city of Jessup's worked with us before. I've worked with them. Our investigators talk because we may have information from sources that, we all got informants, and then my informant may not want to talk to them, or vice versa.
But the conversations come up. The GBI has to be called in. They just can't show up. So who calls?
Yeah, they have to be requested. Right. They're there to assist.
But who does that? Does the police chief do that? The sheriff do that? The DA? Who's the person responsible for calling in the GBI?
Usually, when they call me, my officers are usually on scene. The detectives usually there by then. And that's my first question to them. Have you called GBI? Yes, sir, I have, and they'll be here in X number of time. They know to do that. I'm going to call them, but they know to do it anyway. They know our protocol. They know that's what we're going to do.
Well, why do you think they didn't call in down in that case? I mean, is politics what they're claiming between the departments? That's still the perplexing thing to me, why the GBI wasn't called in from day one.
I can't answer why they didn't, but I know there's a rift between they don't have a good relationship with the GBI because they just got investigated and they had some corruption issues that will be coming, I guess, through the court system. I think they got indicted by the grand jury, so it'll definitely go.
So the politics down there is
I don't know. I mean, I'm not down there, but
well, that's the assumption, I guess.
Well, that's what it appears to me. Right. I mean, I know that part exists.
They just, like I said, the latest breaking news down there is the kid that did the video who said he wasn't involved, and his attorney said he took a polygraph saying he wasn't involved. Apparently, he must have failed that polygraph because the GBI made the arrest the other day and charged him with the murder as well. So, you're interested to see what his attorney has. All of a sudden, his attorney has nothing to say. But again, 3 people now have been charged with that murder down there in Brunswick, Georgia, which continues to get national attention. But again, you're in here to talk about your campaign. Again, the early voting is underway. The primary is set for June 9th. Do you think you can win it? Can somebody win this without a run over 4 people in the race? I would think it would be difficult to do.
It would be difficult, but it's not impossible, and that's what I'm shooting for. I would love that to happen. I mean, I can tell you from not having competition in 2012, it's a joyful, humbling experience. And, I would like to do it without a runoff, but if there's a runoff, then, it's going to be up to the people. Do they want to change or not? It's that simple. Have we done such a terrible job that we need to be changed? But the fact is that they some of them need to read Aspinwall versus Herring, the case that was in 1993 about the protection from the merit system that these people have. I hear some of them about they're going to make all these changes with personnel. That's going to be difficult to do based on that court decision.
Well, you spoke at the forum, like I said, mainly you're running on your record, so just want to give you time to talk about your record. Like I said, you've been sheriff for quite some time, looking for your 5th term. So when people go to the polls, early voting or June the 9th, why should they vote for John Carter for sheriff?
Well, my experience in leadership's the first thing, and then the fact that I've done the best I can to get good qualified people, even despite the low salary. Most of the the city makes over $2 more an hour than we do. Most of the counties around us make more money. But yet I have people come, and I lose some occasionally to another agency. But most of the time, if I lose a person, it's just to Rainier, Kim Tall, Georgia Power, something like that. But I think my leadership started in high school as high school team captain on the football team. It extended when I went into service, and I went through NCO school, leadership school, and then later, I led a squad in combat. I don't think, I think that's a strong case for good leadership. Everything that I've been from civic clubs on up, I have been the president or whatever. I've gone as far as I could in those organizations. I've also done it in Georgia Sheriff's Association. I have been appointed by Governor Deal to serve on the Sheriff's Retirement Board. I was reappointed by Governor Kemp, and I am now the chairman of that board. So I've got some good ties with the state and with our representatives. I have always had them, whether it was Chad Nimber or whoever it may be, Tommy Williams. Got it with Blake Tillery. Got it with Stephen Meeks now. So Bill Werkheiser, all those, we work well together. And then, I know that I can, even Governor Kemp, I can text him. The first one to call me during the tornado up there was Governor Kemp that morning. And I had to say, Governor, I can't talk to you right now. Because we were out there trying to get an ambulance in, trying to get trees out of the road. But, I called him back, but he what do you need? And same way with my surrounding sheriffs. They were calling me, what do you need? What can we help you with? So, those affiliations with different people like that, Matt. But, things I've done through the years, we saw a need for a tactical team. After the shootout on Cherry Street on Christmas Eve, 2013 or 2012, somewhere in there, 2013 I believe it was, we formed an honor guard. I had some of my guys come to me and then wanted to do an honor guard because we didn't have anybody to go to funerals, to do casket guard, and do the things for law enforcement officers. And occasionally we fill in for VFW or some of those that don't, or their honor guards disbanded or whatever. We've done one of the main programs I think we do is protecting our schools that we started years ago. Chief Butch Hudson, when he was at the city, And Lisa Smith at Board of Education, they first wrote a grant to try to get school resource officers. This was right after Columbine, actually. I'm trying to remember who the principal was. Maybe Daniels, Tommy Daniels, is that his name? You remember?
He was a superintendent.
Okay.
He wasn't the principal. Mike Rowland was the principal.
Okay, well, that's during that period anyway. We were trying to get school resource officers, make a long story short. Nobody wanted to approve because a grant, think about grants. At that time, it was 4-year grant. A grant ends, and it goes down, it decreases each year, and you have to assume the grant equipment, whatever you got to have. So it didn't work for them, so I got together with Butch and Lisa, and we tweaked it to fit the county needs. We had to do a lot of things that were different than they did. We weren't able to get it through either way, so I believe it was either Joe Matt Pipkin or Jim Poulos was the principal when I went before them, and we started putting off-duty officers out there. We first started from 8 to 12, or 8 to right after lunch. And then we later made it all day long. Just with, it was with off-duty officers. We did that until I believe City got last year. They got a school resource officer. But in between that, we have been doing walkthroughs at every school, especially after Sandy Hook, where elementary schools. We never thought we had a problem, so we had to revamp our whole active shooter plan to include elementary schools. So we started walking them, and we still do. But my chief deputy came up with an idea a couple of years ago that we would do what we call adopt a school. Each deputies have adopted a particular school that they walk through. They try to do it at least 2 or 3 times a day. And then we swap them around a little bit after they've, because we want all the kids to get to know every deputy. So, and it's worked well. The kids know us. When they know you and they trust you, they'll come up to you. They'll talk to you. A lot of times we get information that you wouldn't get. Now, don't think kids don't know a lot of things, because they do. But those are just some of the things we did. We merged the search and rescue and dive team under the sheriff's office in 2014. Put it under the umbrella because I can use drug seizure money to help with equipment from them, and we have been fortunate to do that. Patrol zones, we did that in 1998. We've had them about 10 years now. Like I went through, patrol zones are hard to do because B zone, or that big zone that air off Ready Road where it's mostly populated, I said it's hard to keep one man there. So the people from A, B, and C, D zones have to come help B. I could actually keep 4 people busy because that area's got a population bigger than the city of Jessup. So, I could keep 4 people busy out there. So those are some things we did. At the jail, especially with this pandemic, we've done our video conferencing where we don't have to transport the inmates there. But before we had to do that, you had tremendous security risk, tremendous labor costs, because it's actually 12 miles round trip from the courthouse to that jail. So that's a lot of time and money spent doing court. Safe Kids, when the Housing Authority funding got cut, they could no longer fund Safe Kids. So they came to me, and at that time Donnie Ray was the EMA director, so we agreed to co-fund it. And, the commissioners went along with that, and we appreciate it. But that Safe Kids, we do those loaner life jackets you see at all the public landings. She does car seats. We do. She helps with A-Ride and a lot of other things. So that's kid safety, ATV safety. Those things that we try to do to help our kids. I discussed the 3-pronged drug attack that I revamped. You got to restructure every so many years. The drug dealers change, so you got to change. And this is what I think is going to be best for us fighting the drugs from here on out. Canines, I added one for drug reasons in 2007 and another one in 2013. Those dogs are completely paid for out of our drug seizure money. It's no cost, doesn't come out of general budget. The only thing coming out of general budget is their salaries. All the certifications they have to have are paid for that. The training they do is paid for out of that drug count. Dog food, vet bills, all that stuff comes out of it. So it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. Bike patrol, I started back up because you've been on trips, say football, where we got to Burke County, got our cars broken into. At Griffin, we got cars broken in. I don't want that here. So we try to patrol the parking lot. The best thing to do a parking lot is a bicycle. So we do that at the football games. We've done it at the beauty pageants at the high school and any other major event. We use that. We use it at Odom on Odom Day and on that side of the car. Video visitation's another thing where we don't have to actually bring the inmates out the cells. We could do it by video. I'm working on some other things with tablets. I'm experimenting with that now that will help us, be able, they can order directly, say, to McDaniel Vending. That's our vendor for our commissary. That's who does that. So those are just some of the things that we've done during my tenure. We're always improving. I've got a good group that we call, and then we meet as command staff, and it's almost impossible to meet as an entire aide because you got basically 80 people now. When I started in 2005, we had 50. When I took on 911, that was 13 more, but technically we've increased by about 17 people in 16 years. So anyway, those are some things, and I believe that we're doing a good job, and I think we'll continue to improve. We're all the time, what can we do without cutting services, do better with the budget we've got, because you're not going to get any more money. We're not add the woods yet with this budget crisis we've been in. It's my hope and the county commissioner's hope that we can drop the millage rate, but I don't know when that's going to be.
This pandemic crisis, the budget's going to get a little bit tighter, so it's going to be interesting how it all plays out. But, Sheriff, we appreciate you coming in. Always good to see you. Like I said, we've had you many times on the Butch and Bob Show over the years. You've always been transparent with me, so had a good working relationship. Wish you the best of luck, and we'll see how it all plays out on June the 9th. Again, just want to encourage everybody to get out and vote. Get early voting again today from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the registrar's office. Takes place for the next 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. The one Saturday, May 30th, from 8 to 4. So, again, then Tuesday, June 9th, it'll all be settled. And we'll see how it all plays out in the sheriff's race. Again, 4 candidates on the Republican side, 1 candidate on the Democratic side. The incumbent John Carter in the studio seeking your 5th term as sheriff of Wayne County.
That's correct. And also I say again, congratulations to our class of 2020. And remember our veterans on this Memorial Day weekend. And please get out and vote your conscience and vote your who you want to. It's important you get out and vote, whether it's from me or another candidate. Just vote
and obey all the rules as for law enforcement. One final thing before you go, and Lake Grace has always been an issue the last couple of weeks. I know you monitor that. How's the situation at Lake Grace? People doing what they're supposed to be doing?
They really are. So far, you're going to have a few isolated incidents, but for the most part, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, this weekend's going to be a challenge probably, but what we worry about is getting too many jet skis or too many boats on the water at the same time. Most of the people have been spreading out and doing, and us trying to enforce people in other counties is tough. But we got a lot of people that come here from the surrounding counties, Brantley, Pierce, and Appleton being the main ones.
That was what my curiosity. They said that they were trying to limit just to Wayne County residents. I just wondered how you enforce that, because nowadays people have these specialty tags, so you really don't know from the car tags if they're from. Do you check driver's license or who's doing that?
And you got to be careful about that. Because you got areas in Wayne County that actually get their mail, let's say Post Road gets it in Hortense. Oh. Some of the people out in Scriven get it in Bristol. Some of the people in the north end of the county, it comes out of Searcy. So you have to be real careful, when you're just looking at a driver's license address.
I got you.
But we try to do the best we can, but, we've got other methods that we can do. But we're doing the best we can do. Without restricting people's rights. I mean, people want to get out, and I don't blame them.
Right.
But, we also got to try to maintain and do the safety things that we're required to do. But we've been working with the mayors of all 3 cities, police chief of both cities, to try to make this thing work. And another, Joe Irada, you name it, we've had them all, working together. So we're doing the best we can, and Herschel, our county commissioner, chairman of our county commission, has done an excellent job of organizing some meetings that we try to go over and see what we got to do, what we can do better, and what we don't feel like's working, and try to keep up with how many cases we got. So that's where we are with that.
Okay, Sheriff. Again, appreciate you coming in. That's going to do it for the Friday's Butch and Bob Show. Again, happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody out there. Happy birthday to Jimbo Boykin, his 50th birthday. If you see the mate out there, tell him happy birthday. Jonathan, have a great weekend.
All right, have a great weekend. Reminder, we are not here Monday for the Memorial Day holiday, back on Tuesday. World-famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you this morning by Murphy Builder Supply. Update from Fox News Radio up next on the Big Dog at 8:41.
Woody Folsom Automotive's maintaining our social distancing, giving free home delivery, doing all those things, same as you. So walk right in to South Georgia Chevrolet Place and talk to us. Or go online to woodyfolsom.com, where you'll find nearly 800 in stock, 0% for 84 months, GM Financial financing on 2020 Silverado and Sierra, Terrain, Equinox, Acadia, and many more.
Plus 0 for 84 on all new Buicks and GMC Canyon and Yukons. Plus a free lifetime powertrain warranty. Call, click, or come on in. This is still America, and we will get through it, and get through it together. God bless you big time. We appreciate you.
Find new roads, find free financing, and find people who care about you. Better get to Baxley, where you'll find all of it at Woody Folsom Automotive. 0 in on 0% for 84 months. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
God bless you big time. We appreciate you.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump at a Ford plant in Michigan had been asked to wear a mask per state order. He did not in front of the cameras.
I had one on before. I wore one in this back area, but I didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing it.
The president did wear a mask during a private tour, then took it off for the rest of the visit. That plant's currently making personal protective equipment. The University of California system is dropping the SAT and ACT standardized tests as an admissions requirement by 2024.
The decision could be influential, as all the colleges